What's up, everybody? Welcome into the latest Windy City Gridiron Radio. With you, as always, your host, Robert Zaglinski. And welcome into a very special edition of Windy City Gridiron Radio. This is episode 45, otherwise known as the Joel Igbunue episode. And I can now say that correctly, and I can also now spell that correctly without spell check. So that's a win for me. We are winding down the preseason. The Bears have essentially their dress rehearsal against the Kansas City Chiefs on Saturday afternoon. We don't anticipate seeing the starters after that until the Bears go into Green Bay in week 1 in a couple of weeks. But there are still a few more roster battles. There are some injuries, unfortunately, to get through, some mismanagement by Bears coaches and whatnot. So there's a lot of that to parse through. And joining me is my favorite offensive tackle ever, the editor-in-chief. I'm his right hand, I guess, as I think we often say, is Lester Wiltfong Jr. Lester, how are we tonight?
Doing good, Robert. How you doing?
A little tired, eating as we did this, or reading right before. I had to scarf a meal down really quickly, so really scrambling around. But I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Good. You know, I am not going to pronounce his name. I'm going to refer to him as Iggy. That's all I got for you. Yeah.
So Iggy. So he's one of those. You ever play Mario? Did you ever play? So he's one of the. He's one of the people in the castles. That's actually one of the Koopa. The Koopas.
Okay.
He's one. That's one of the names. So if I ever use that GIF, now you understand the reference. Or anyone that follows me, now you understand that reference.
We get it.
You can follow us on Twitter at WCG Gridiron. You can follow Lester on Twitter at Wiltfong Jr. And you can follow me on Twitter at Robert Zaglinski, getting that housekeeping out of the way. And let's jump right into it, Lester. Unfortunately, I think there's a lot of optimism, and there still should be a lot of optimism. But what's plagued the Bears in the last 3 seasons already seems to be really rearing its ugly head. It's something that isn't really in their control whatsoever, and it's injuries. We have Adam Shaheen spraining his ankle against the Broncos, and the rare sprained foot. So that's, of course, typical Bears luck at this point. You have Leonard Floyd breaking 2 fingers on his right hand. He can apparently play through week 1, some kind of brace or a cast, what have you. And then you also have, on a lesser extent, but still a core special teamer, core player, DeAndre Houston Carson, breaking his arm. There's also Taylor Gabriel. I think we haven't really noted that. He has been practicing the past few days for the Bears, but he's also someone that's missed some time in the past few days with a shoulder, or in the past few weeks, that is, with a shoulder injury. So overall, for all of the building the Bears have done with Trubisky, for all of the steps the defense is supposed to make, or the Bears think the defense is going to make, it already looks like the biggest factor is starting to detract from 2018, Lester.
Yeah, I think the key injury, the key guy you got to keep healthy is going to be Mitch Trubisky. I think if he's fine and he has a few weapons to work with, I think this offense will still give us something that's on a whole different level than we saw the last few years with John Fox and Dowell Loggins. But, you know, the injuries, like I said, it's getting rough right now with the foot and ankle with Shaheen is obviously going to be a problem. You know, he was going to be a real big part of this offense. But you did mention Gabriel. Gabriel's back. I think he had a foot injury a while back, but he was back practicing. And tonight at Vernon Hills, I saw some clips on Twitter of him going deep. So that's one positive, at least in that count, that he's back in the offense right now.
I think with Shaheen, what's really rare, what's a little different from previous years is that the Bears actually have tight end depth now. They actually have depth at a position where they lost a guy. So while you'd rather have Shaheen and Trey Burton as your number 1A and 1B, you can withstand however long. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not gonna speculate as to how long Shaheen will miss time from a sprained ankle and foot. But you can withstand however long he misses when you have Daniel Brown and Ben Broniker and Deion Sims, to a lesser extent. I mean, they're obviously they're not 6'7", 260 pounds, and they can run over linebackers and safeties easily, but you can survive for a little bit without that. I'm not as concerned about the Shaheen injury. It doesn't sound like the Bears are necessarily too concerned. But either way, I don't think we'll see him for the first few weeks. Obviously, the concerning injury is Leonard Floyd. And I wonder, I mean, he's my boy, I know, but I wonder how effective he can be. I mean, with the cast, with the brace, The biggest steps he has to make as a pass rusher, as a 25-year-old, is quite frankly his hand usage and his pass rush moves, and that's a big part of. I'm just wondering how effective he can be.
He's still going to be a speed guy at the end of the day. So, I mean, if his feet's okay, if his legs are okay, I think he'll be okay. Like I said, the problem is with his hand, though. If he cannot grab the quarterback, if he can't use his hands to do the hand fighting on the old line when they're trying to come at him with the punch, that's going to be a problem. But he has to work on his chop move. He has to work on his spin move a little bit. He has to do something where he's not so reliant on his hands. And you know what? This may be a blessing for him. It may force him to work on some other counter moves that he has in his bag of tricks. So maybe when the cast comes off, we'll see a better overall player with Leonard Floyd.
Yeah, thankfully too, the timeline shouldn't be too long, provided he doesn't, suffer he doesn't aggravate it against the Packers in week 1. A broken finger will be what? 3 or 4 weeks, and I will do my WebMD doctoring there. That it should be 3 or 4 weeks, but they can't afford not having him on the field. They can't afford not having him 90% capacity. We're going to get to this later because they don't more in depth. They don't really have anything behind him. They don't really have, if we're being quite frankly, if we're being frank, they don't have anything reliable opposite him either. That's anything close to a difference maker. He has to be a 12 to 14 sack guy, and he's got to be the guy that's chasing Aaron Rodgers or all around Lambeau Field.
The key to the Bears is finding another guy could be on the other side of Floyd, but honestly, that guy is not on the roster. I thought it would be Kylie Fitz. I thought he would give the Bears something. The last 2 weeks in preseason, he has done nothing at all. Like, I'm talking no pressures, nothing at all. With Aaron Lynch, oh my goodness, this guy has not even practiced. I'd like to.
He might not make the roster. He might not.
It's possible. I think he makes a roster just because of his history, and because there's nothing there. I mean, he has to make the roster because you're going on what he's done in the past. They have to at least give him a chance to see what he can do when he's healthy. Like I said, I'd like the Lynch signing when it was made. I didn't like it as the only signing. I thought there'd be something else coming, whether it's Houston, as a guy off the scrap heap they can bring back, whether it's another move somewhere. You got to get someone else besides what you have now. And I'm a little surprised that there is no moves being made yet. I mean, what is it besides Floyd? Right now, it's Sam Acho. I like him, but he's not a starter for you. He's a guy that can come in and play a little bit here and there. He's really good in the third phase, but as a starter, I'm not the biggest fan of that move.
We'll get to that more in depth in a little bit. I was going to mention though, I know injuries have really sunk the Bears in the past few years, but I always felt that John Fox obviously used that as an excuse for the Bears' poor efforts, and that Ryan Pace, considering that it led a lot of the Bears' season-ending press conferences, that they relied on that as their scapegoat. Yeah. I'm curious to see, if hopefully the Bears don't experience the same kind of luck this year, but it's already kind of starting. I'm curious to see how Matt Nagy approaches it, and I think this is going to be key because we know injuries happen in football. We know that. Oh man, excuse me. That was
right there.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
I would say we know that injuries happen in football. We know that it's inevitable. We know that more than likely the Bears are going to operate without 2 or 3 major contributors. They could anyway on any given week. But it's the good teams and it's the contenders that are able to kind of weather that storm, that don't necessarily, and it's cliche, sure, but they don't use it as a crutch. It's that next man up mentality. And that's not something that the Bears did very well with in recent years. I'm curious to see. We haven't really seen Matt Nagy and how he's talked about, how he's discussed it, considering the Bears haven't played any games. But a big factor in the Bears overcoming these inevitable roadblocks, someone's going to get hurt and big. I mean, you already have Shaheen, is how Nagy has that mentality, just a different, like, okay, we're gonna move on. We're on to Green Bay, a little Bill Belichick style. We're on to Seattle, whatever. Like that's going to be such a key.
All good coaches have that next man up mentality. The thing with the Bears is they have to have the depth. The last few years, the depth just was not there. But now here we are in the 4th year of the Pace rebuild, And if there's not enough depth there to have a few injuries here and there, then what the hell is going on in Chicago? I mean, you have to hope that the guys at tight end can come up and step up. I mean, they added some guys in free agency, so you hope that there's enough guys there in case there's another injury with Gabriel or Robinson. You have to hope some guys step up because, look at the good teams around the NFL. The Patriots, they have injuries. The Packers, they have injuries, but they have guys that can come up there. But again, it goes back to the quarterback position. As long as Trubisky's not one of the guys that's injured, I think this team should be in most games because the offense that's in place is going to be one that's really built around him, built around his strengths. It's going to be a very quarterback friendly offense. And Trubisky, from what I saw in camp, from what I was being reported in camp from you and the other guys that were down there. This offense is night and day compared to last year. So he's the key. Keep him healthy. This team should be competitive.
We'll talk more depth and particularly pass rush in a little bit. But now, Lester, I want to get your thoughts as a coach, as a player. I've had experience mentoring some guys. We appear to be in a little bit of a James Daniels shuffle, James Daniels polka. I don't know, some kind of dance. You know what I'm trying to get at. Here in the past few weeks, you have James Daniels starting training camp at left guard, getting almost all of his reps there. Then after some injuries, Hroniss Grasu, whatever, you have Daniels getting exclusive center snaps, which would normally paint the picture of a guy like the Bears grooming him to eventually jump into number one action, just getting him ready for that. But as soon as Hroniss Grasu returns today, there was also reports yesterday, you're accommodating a likely bust of a draft pick for your new second-round pick that should be a day one starter by putting him back at guard. And I'm not sure what this does for Daniel's development, and I'm not sure. I thought Harry – I know that my opinion on offensive linemen isn't going to be as valued as someone like Harry Hiestand. I know most people's opinions isn't going to be as valued as Harry Hiestand, but it just seems awfully weird that this guru is moving around a 20-year-old and not letting him get comfortable at one spot.
I think they really do want to have him be the guy left guard, but with the injury to Grasu, they figure, well, it's a good chance to get him in there and have some reps at center. They knew it wasn't going to be a real long injury with Grasu, so I figured it'd be a week or two with him getting some reps there, kind of see what he can do there. And in the preseason, he looked pretty good. I mean, he's real good at the point of attack. He's really good. He's a really good athlete. And I think the athletic part of his game is what the Bears are intrigued by at left guard because there's a lot of screens, a lot of pulling, a lot of stuff in the power game. So he's a little better athlete, I think, than Cody Whitehair is. Although I think Whitehair could, play the position as well. But I think at this point they just want to eventually have Daniels be the guy at left guard, Whitehair be the guy at center. But all last week, the snapping issues were continuing. And if this is going to be a problem, to me, it's just pointless to not put the guy who has done it for the last, 3 years in Iowa. He's a center. That's what he was drafted as. That's what he is. His snapping, you would think it's better than Whitehair. I mean, think about it. He's played center longer than Whitehair has played center, even though Whitehair's done it at a different level. Mm-hmm. That's what he was drafted to play. Yeah, they said he wanted to play guard, but I mean, I think everyone thought when the pick was made, there's going to be a switch at some point. Personally, if the plan is long-term he's your center, why screw around? Put him at center, put Whitehair at guard. This is your guys that are going to be there for the next 10 years, and let's stop messing around and let's get the offensive line set in the interior.
It's almost to me as if and I don't know. I don't know the inner politics of an NFL team, but the inner workings like this, but it's almost to me as if they don't want to hurt Whitehair's feelings because he's been their starting center for the last 2 years. Like, oh, hey, you're not good enough. Let's move you over to guard. But to me, that would be a compliment. To me, you're playing a more valuable position, one. Two, you're playing a position that gets paid much better by comparison, too. And, I mean, Whitehair is more of a natural guard anyway. He would have less response. He wouldn't have to snap the ball. All he would have to worry about is mauling guys and his pass sets. To me, it's a better role if there's any issue there. And then the other fact, I've been talking with some guys in the background. It's like this is like a Mitch Trubisky thing. Like he likes Whitehair more than Daniels. Like he's built a comfort thing with Whitehair, or that he's friends with Whitehair in an extent. But why should Trubisky? I understand he's the one getting the exchange, and I understand he's the one getting the snaps. But ultimately, this should be a coach call. Ultimately, this should be a Nagy and a Hiestand call, where Daniels is objectively a better snapper of the football. Daniels is objectively, with a little more time, and I guess you can't say that objectively, but subjectively, a better, more natural center. He can become best friends with Trubisky too. You know what I mean? He can also build a relationship with him. Trubisky can also get comfort with him. Trubisky's only a second-year quarterback. He shouldn't. I don't know if he has that dominion over this decision, but if he does, that's seems awfully short-sighted for me by the Bears coaching staff.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Whitehair as a rookie, the Bears did a bunch more in shotgun when he was a rookie, and there were no issues from his snaps then. Last year, it was all because he was playing center, then he was playing guard, then he was playing the other guard. I think he wasn't comfortable. I think it got in his head. I think it kind of just one of the things that happened with him. And I think now it's just in his head. I think it's one of the things where it's a mental thing right now with him with his snaps. I think maybe when he saw the Bears draft a center, again, it's something else in his head thinking, well, this is the guy that's going to take my job. But again, I like you said, this is not a demotion. It's just another position on the line. He's still a starter. I mean, as you mentioned, the money. Guards get more money if they're that good. And I think with the move there to be made, like I said, if that's the Bears' plan, stop messing around and get it done now. But if the Bears really, if the plan is really for him to be your center and the rookie to be the guard at left side, I get it. He's a really good athlete. He's really good in space. His skills on the move are a little better than Whitehair's. And you want a guy in the middle that's a better anchor, and I think that is Whitehair. But I haven't seen Daniels get beat up in the run game. I mean, he seems like he's pretty strong at the point of attack.
He seems really good. He's dominated the preseason, from my opinion.
And then in college, that was what he was known for. He was really good at the point of attack. So, again, this is the Bears' call. I mean, they have one of the best the coaches in the business for Hiestand. So if this is what he wants to do, I get it. But if there's snapping issues, if they keep up this week, at some point you have to realize what's best for the football team. And if the issues are with snapping, it's going to hurt the team in the long run. It's just the timing-based offense, and they're going to run a lot of shotgun.
A lot.
You have to have the snap there on time. It can't be a snap where he's up and down. He's going down to the side to get the ball. The snap has to be on the money every snap. And if that's Daniels, it's Daniels.
You know how this ends, right? In regards to that snap issue, you know how this ends, right? It's not going to be the Bears making a decision, just having foresight and doing it in advance.
Yeah.
It's gonna end with it costing the game, and this being the Bears more than likely costing them making it a close loss against the Packers with a bad Whitehair snap to Trubisky or something.
Oh.
And then the Bears are like, oh, well, we were wrong. Now James will get some reps and we'll get him ready. We have an extra day. We'll get him ready for the Seahawks. It's going to be something like that. It's too predictable. It's too predictable. It's going to be more out of embarrassment than just making the proper decision in advance. I can see it now. I have like a crystal ball in my lap right now. I can see it.
The Magic 8 Ball says, yep.
The Magic it cost them against the Packers being this being against the Bears. I would hope not, but
I hope not.
But that's been the previous history of Bears coaching staffs and decisions like this. Anyway, let's move on to a more cheery subject: criticizing Ryan Pace. This is the part where I have to add the disclaimer, because I saw a lot of people weirdly turn on me. It's like I've been one of the people who have been one of the staunchest Ryan Pace defenders over the past 3 years.
Yeah,
I think he's done a good job.
Yeah.
I think he's built the roster relatively well. I can see his vision. I can see what he's done. I can't defend what he's done with the pass rush, and we touched on this earlier. And now from a different angle, it's almost, to me, similar to the wide receivers, where, and I wrote about this. I wrote about this a few days ago. I saw Josh plugged it today in his fantastic article. It was an analytical article. It's almost to me as if Pace is content to entirely shelve off big roster needs for the offseason and go in with a major hole instead of at least, adding more serviceable guys. You don't need the answer. I understand, like, for example, that this March and April wasn't the best draft or free agency for pass rushers. But there were options. There were guys that were better than Kylie Fitz, Isaiah Irving, and Sam Acho opposite Leonard Floyd. And any year that you go in with that hole where you're just like, oh, okay, I'm just going to take care of it next year. Next year's a great class. Like, you're just deliberately, I guess, ignorantly leaving your roster at a disadvantage. The Bears now with Mitch Trubisky, they should be trying to compete every year. They shouldn't be like, oh, okay, this year's more of a developmental year. This year's more of an offensive year where Trubisky's going to get his under feet. Matt Nagy's a rookie. No, screw that. Yeah. You should be trying to win. You should be trying to be a playoff team. You should be trying to compete and win the NFC North, even if you most likely won't. And it's the pace is sticking to a chart, or pace is sticking to this, and then inevitably, and I'm ranting here, but I'll let you get here in a second. Inevitably, you get to that offseason and you put all your resources. And let's say the Bears draft a pass rusher. Let's say the Bears sign a couple depth guys in March, quality depth guys. And then, of course, naturally, they don't have any resources for anything else. Like, oh, hey, an offensive tackle of the future, or hey, a young boundary cornerback, or hey, other needs that will inevitably rise, other holes that come up on NFL teams with players and windows that open and close all the time. It just seems he seems so short-sighted to me in these little niches, and it's a disturbing trend.
He brought in Fitz, and I have not been happy with Fitz so far. He brought in Lynch, who obviously hasn't played at all. He brought in Kasim and Edebabe. I think
Edebali. Kasim Edebali.
Close.
Yeah,
it's close, he's actually given the Bears a little bit of pass rush against like the second and third team, but he is not an outside linebacker. He's more of a defensive end pass rush only guy, which I'm okay with. That's what you need anyway. So I mean, he is swinging. He's just not swinging for the fences, and I'd like to see a few more guys come in. Maybe he's waiting for the first week to be over so we can get that guy on.
Khalil Mack.
Well. That'd be nice, but I think I think that's more of a fan thing. But the Jets are in the market now. There was a report today where the Jets are going to make a deal. I'm not sure if it's true or not, but that's what you want. You want more teams actually bidding, so at least there's smoke, so there's more fire, and to get the Bears involved. But again, that's going to be too pricey, I think, for the Bears. It's going to be too pricey for anybody. So, but I think if the Raiders do trade him, they're going to want to get him out of the AFC. So. Maybe the Bears have a chance, and then of course, if the Packers get involved in this sweep,
you have to get
involved. You cannot let
at least drive the price. At least drive the price up. I mean, if he does go,
yes.
On that note, though, but like you're saying, like, oh, maybe he's waiting for roster cuts now. Oh, hey, maybe he's waiting for, by coincidence, a future Hall of Famer to be available. That's poor planning. Just to
it
wait.
Is. It is.
That's just poor planning for us. Like, oh, hey, maybe I could have signed a Connor Barwin or an Alex Okafor. Maybe I could have drafted a Josh Sweat that the Super Bowl champions and their great medical staff decided was worth the risk in the fourth round instead of Iggy. No offense, Iggy, but the Bears needed a pass rusher more. No offense. Yeah. It's like the same thing like with it's not an entirely comparable situation, but I remember Ryan Pace getting credit for signing Josh Sitton as a late roster cut because the Bears had an interior offensive line need.
Yeah.
Why should he get credit for luck? I'm not going to give him credit for luck.
I mean, it was a really good move on his part. I mean, the guy was available. He went out there and got him. It was a good move for the team at that time. But again, it kind of fell in his lap. So I hope he's not waiting for that. I mean, who's out there right now? You have Houston. You have Willie Young out there still. I mean,
there's not really anything he could. There's not really anything he could do right now. The options are exhausted. That's the thing. I don't see a roster cut that reasonably could be made of the Sitton level anyway.
No, I mean, if there's a trade to be made, possibly with Denver, I know that they're pretty stacked at that position. They may get something from the Broncos. Plus, he was in camp with them for a week, so maybe there's something in the works. It's hard to say, but as of right now, the moves he made to get that position upgraded, it's not worked. It's just not working, and you have to have someone there that can get after the quarterback. And even with Floyd, I mean, I like him as a prospect, but we haven't seen him do it yet. He's always hurt. So
I obviously love him, but he still has to He still has to play 14 or 15 or 16 games and be dominant for most of a season, which he hasn't done yet. I like what he's capable of, but you don't know that yet. I wanted to note though too, because a lot of people have tweeted at me or said to me like, oh, but Vic Fangio doesn't need great outside linebackers. He doesn't, or no, he has some wizardry, or he can do a nickel thing. Well, first of all, he doesn't need great outside linebackers. Well, his greatest defenses had Aldon Smith and Ahmad Brooks. In case you don't know who Ahmad Brooks is, Ahmad Brooks was a guy that averaged 7 to 9 sacks every year and was a 2-time second team All-Pro. He was quite good. He was part of the reason those defenses were really, really good. He was a great second outside linebacker to Aldon Smith's pass rushing. To the second part, why would you want the Bears to rely on more wizardry instead of playing straight up? It's a common football trope where you would rather not compromise your defense with a stupid blitz that may or may not get home, and then that leaves a gap downfield. You'd rather have the players to just be able to play straight up. That's how the Eagles and their fantastic defense won the Super Bowl last year. And bullied the Vikings and bullied the Falcons in the playoffs. Yes, Vic Fangio is a brilliant defensive mind. I'll give him credit for that and what he can draw up. But eventually, the great quarterbacks are going to exploit that, and they'll see that on film from his previous weeks. And there's only so many bunnies you can pull out of the hat.
Yeah. I mean, especially with the Bears. I mean, when the Bears have been good through history, it's done with the talent on the team. You have to have guys that get after the quarterback. The scheme can only get you so far. If you don't have the talent to execute it, the Bears are going to have problems. And I'm not sure what they're going to do at their spot opposite Floyd, but they got to do something. They got to get someone in there right now.
You can follow Lester on Twitter at Wiltfong Jr. You can follow me on Twitter at Robert Soklinski. Follow us on Twitter at WC Gridiron. Almost lost it there. This is the Joel Igbounaway episode, the Iggy episode of Windy City Gridiron, episode 45. And we're going to talk his draft class teammate now, Roquan Smith. Lester, did you know that only contract holdouts Did you know that only contract holdouts pull their hamstring? This was a source close to me confirmed this, that only contract holdouts pull their hamstring. Roquan Smith, hamstring tightness, reported yesterday. He wasn't going through full team drills today as the Bears are precautionary with him. Would have practiced if it was a regular season week, according to Matt Nagy. But that's fine. That's not a detail that anyone's concerned with.
That part was left out of all the reports for the most.
That part was conveniently left out because that's not what gets the clicks or whatever. Anyway, how worried are we about Roquan Smith and his obvious contract holdout forcing his obvious hamstring injury from the contract holdout?
If anything, it's just a perception of it. I mean, he held out and now he's injured. So it's a bad look for the Bears. It's a bad look for him. And it's a bad look because now he may not be ready to go against the Packers in week 1. I mean, if he can't get on the practice field at all, there's no way that guy's going to start on week 1. So now it's going to be against Seattle the next week, possibly where he gets in there. So I think, had he been in camp and the injury still crept up, it's just one of those things that happen. Who knows what happens with hamstrings, but it's just a bad look. I mean, it's a bad look with the whole thing overall. If
he had been in camp the whole time or most of the time and then got injured, it would just be, typical Ryan Pace drafting a bust. There's always a unique spin on it. It would turn from criticizing Roquan Smith to criticizing Ryan Pace, which is just how it goes. How worried are you on a scale of 1 to 10 at this point?
As far as him playing this year or starting this year?
He's going to start. He's going to play this year. I'm saying starting week 1. The vibe I was getting from a lot of the other reporters was that he's probably not going to – that he's looking semi-unlikely to play against the Chiefs on Saturday. And if he doesn't play against the Chiefs on Saturday, that probably rules him out in much of a major role against the Packers.
Well, tonight in Vernon Hills and the practice day up there, he warmed up. He got loose in the sideline, but he did not play at all, I believe, during the scrimmages. So, again, they're being really cautious with his hamstring, which is smart. So he's probably not going to play on Saturday in the dress rehearsal game. He's definitely not playing against the Bills on Thursday night in the fourth game. So there's no way he's going to start against the Packers. But if he gets in the practice field next week, the Bears are going to get in there a little bit because you have to. He's just that talented.
I'm of the opinion he's their most talented linebacker. You don't leave that off the field. You don't leave what he offers off the field. I know it's
but he has to practice. He has to get out.
He has to practice. Yeah, he has to practice. I mean, at this point, either way, though, like how much, and maybe this is me just blowing smoke up everything, but how much does he really need to play against the Chiefs? I think he just needs more practice time than anything.
Yeah.
Because either way, like just given the timeline he has, it's going to be throwing him into the fire against the Packers, whether he's starting or not. That's throwing him into the fire, which is what that's what this is. That's what the professional game is. You just have to be ready as a rookie, as an immediate impact guy, as he's been touted. How much does it matter that he plays against the Chiefs?
I don't think it really matters too much. But again, it's, like you said, it's about the practice time. It's about getting some reps somewhere. It's about the coaches getting the trust in him. You know, this is the guy who's greened out. You know, they expect him to be the guy making the calls out there. So they want to get him out there with the whole defense, get him running up to speed. And unless he can get on the field, you know, it's just not going to happen. So I think that week one, he's going to come in off the bench as long as he gets some practice time in. If he doesn't practice up until the Packer game, that's going to be a big problem then, because then obviously, you know, he'll be on the bench the whole game.
Yeah.
But we need to see him out there. But for the long term, he's your guy. If you got to wait a week or two, so be it.
Yeah, you can just be precautionary with it. There's no point in pushing it now. There's no point in exacerbating anything and then ruining the entire season.
Yeah.
It's better management than in Bears years past. Speaking of that Chiefs game, so following, I guess, a relatively solid offensive performance against the Broncos and all of those injuries, unfortunate injuries suffered, Lester, what are we looking for against the Chiefs? Bears dress rehearsal on Saturday afternoon. What are we looking for there?
You know, I'm looking for the offense to click a little bit. I mean, it was pretty good last week. You know, it was still very vanilla.
It was okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was still very vanilla, and with the starters in there. I mean, they're not doing a lot. I mean, you are seeing some of the stuff with the tight ends where they're kind of going around a little bit to kind of give some keys to the quarterback to kind of see what's going on there. So that's obviously what you want to see a little bit of. But you know, we're not going to see the motions. We're not going to see the shifts. We're going to see a very vanilla offense again. So let's get everyone in the game, get everyone out of the game healthy, and that's really what I'm looking forward to, is just get everyone out of the game with no more injuries.
Yeah, at this point, I think the Bears, they're not really going to show much more. I mean, they might expand a little bit against the Chiefs, seeing as this is like the starters will play likely the entire half. But at this point, like, all you just don't have any major injuries. We're not going to learn that much more. The coaching staff isn't going to learn that much more after spending an entire offseason and an entire month of training camp with everybody. You just want your major contributors to come out healthy and to just have a nice little tune-up. That I'd say other previews, like Javon Wims versus Tanner Gentry, but that's something that's going to be settled against the Bills in the 5th preseason game. For this game, like, you just want to see the Bears click, but ultimately come out unscathed. Not too unreasonable.
You know, I want to see some of the playmakers make a few plays on their own, because, like I said, it's going to be real basic offense. So you want to see Robinson, if he gets out there.
Taylor Gabriel.
So a big catch by the rookie Miller again would be nice to see. You know, we're going to see a little bit more stars make some plays on their own, and that's really all we can hope for. And then,
what was that, Lester?
And then, like I said, get out of there healthy. That's the key.
Oh, okay.
No more injuries.
I thought you cut off for a second. Apologies. I was gonna say, and this was an interesting kind of angle that I saw brought up in the past week or so. Do you think the Bears are since we're closing the preseason essentially, or at least relevance of preseason? Do you think the Bears are hiding Tariq Cohen, and I do air quotes, from their offense, from what they're going to be doing with him, all the fun stuff they're going to be doing with him?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you look at the stuff they were doing in camp, I mean, he was all over the field. And so far in preseason, you know, he's played a couple snaps.
5 snaps.
So I think they have big plans for Cohen. I think they have big plans for Gabriel. Is kind of working that zebra receiver role. So I think we're going to see a lot of different stuff once the real lights come on. So they're hiding a lot of what they want to do.
We'll see the Bears play against the Chiefs this Saturday, I believe. Isn't it? I think it's actually 11:30, not even noon, which is a weird, really start time.
I think it's noon. I think it's noon, and it's going to be on national on the NFL Network this week.
Oh wow, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I forget. It's Matt Nagy's revenge game against the Chiefs. How could I forget? The Bears have to win now. He has to embarrass his mentor in a preseason game. This is very important. This is important to somebody. Like, he has to win now, Lester. This is a revenge game.
Teacher versus mentor. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, remember last year all the revenge games we had? Mike Glennon against the Buccaneers.
No,
Marcus Wheaton against the Steelers.
Bears won that one though.
Was there any others? I don't think there was any others. There were probably more, but those were the two notable ones.
Yeah.
The Bears are on a revenge game schneid here. They need to get off the schneid. Yeah. It's preseason, week 3. Let's go, Andy Reid. Let's bring it. That's all I'm going to say.
One.
Yeah. Wrapping this up, Lester, since this is probably, and I was noting to you, this will probably be the last time we have at least like a public recorded conversation. The preseason's wrapping up.
Yeah.
We're like 2 weeks away from the regular season where coverage and everything really ramps up, and we can stop with all the hysteria over the draft, over the free agency, and over these all this camp and positional shuffling. We can actually have games to talk about and narratives from those games to worry about and gloss over and overreact to. So what have you actually been up to this summer, killing the time in between these practice reports, and how are you gonna spend your last few free like Sundays and weekends before the Bears kick off against the Packers?
I wish I had more free time, but I've been real busy. I'm a full-time student. I got a full-time job. I run the website as well. Plus, my wife opened up a business, a photography studio, so I'm kind of helping out with that a lot. We had 3 weddings last weekend. We have
3 weddings?
We had 3 weddings last weekend on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We have a wedding this weekend we got to shoot. So, my weekends are pretty busy. And so, I mean, it's good, though. I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun, taking photos. So it's something I enjoy. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just staying busy. Plus, I got kids. I got grandkids. I'm old. So, I'm always busy doing something.
Oh, wait, I didn't put together the 2 and 2. I don't know. You said the photography, and then you said 3 weddings. I'm like, oh wait, you guys went to 3 weddings. Oh no. He was like, well, you guys wedding crashers. Yeah, I was like, you guys wedding crashers or something.
No, I was working them. Yeah, it was a real busy weekend for us, but it was fun. It's a lot of fun taking pictures, and it's something we enjoy to do. So it's cool.
I appreciate that. I appreciate You mean you don't a stance of you're not always thinking about football? You're not always talking Bears, Lester? I'm shocked.
It's much easier to talk Bears than it is to do photos, but I enjoy being creative. So that's why I'm going just to school for creative writing photos. I'm doing pictures, so I got the whole creative spectrum down right now, and the Bears are just a part of what I like to do.
I respect that. Do you know what I've been doing all summer, Lester? And it's very productive. And I had to defend myself today to a friend.
What's this?
Pokemon Go.
Oh, you have been. I've been following you on Facebook.
Yeah. So I'm almost embarrassed to admit it in a way, but I'm also not, because it's like, whatever.
It's fun.
I enjoy it. If I enjoy it, who's anyone to tell me or make fun of me? Plus it gets me. It's not like I'm out of shape or anything, but it gets me extra exercise. It's nice to take like these walks in the early morning or like at night before I go to sleep. Like, I enjoy it. And I was saying today, like, oh, my friend asked me, what happens if all the Pokemon are caught? And I told him, like, they're never going to be caught. There's always a guy like me. There's always a guy like me. There's always someone needed. There's always someone that has to do the job. It's a dirty job. And not everybody is up to it, but I'm up to it. I'm out there to catch them all, Lester. I am out there to catch them all.
Plus there will be more created if you run out. It's a huge business than Nintendo. They're gonna make as many Pokemon as it takes to keep Robert busy.
We don't talk about their conspiracy and the scam. We just talk about the fun they give me and the joy they give me, Lester. Let's not put our tinfoil hats on and whatever. Lester, thanks for coming on, buddy. Always fun, always a good time.
Oh, for sure.
Really appreciate it.
Always. Cool. Anytime, brother.
You can follow us on Twitter at WC Gridiron. You can follow Lester on Twitter at Wiltfong Jr. And you can follow me on Twitter at Robert Zaglinski. Bears Chiefs Saturday afternoon. We'll have more after that, as we always do. Until then, everybody, stay classy.